Laughter came more easily today than it has for years for Sandra Fuller. The tensions have been eased, replaced with hope for Kimberly's future. Only immediate family members can visit Kimberly now. As reporters waited for briefings, Sandra Fuller flipped through photos that showed a sick little girl in desperate need of a transplant. We've all come to know her so well. It's a struggle Sandra Fuller can now place behind her.
My feelings: relief, apprehension for the future, just everything that one would feel. I'm on cloud nine.
Kimberly Fuller is not in the clear. The lungs particularly are delicate and open to infection. But thus far, all is well, and Kimberly's fighting spirit hasn't changed a bit.
She's frail, but she's a real fighter, and she has such an intense intellectual outlook. I think that those problems will outweigh her physical disability.
As far as what the future brings for Kimberly, who knows? She wants to be a marine biologist. And I certainly see no reason she can't do that. She also wants to go back to taking piano lessons. She took lessons up until about a year ago when she got so weak that she just didn't have the stamina to do it. The sky's the limit.
Kimberly Fuller will remain in intensive care for the next 7 to 10 days. Her physicians tell us they will not consider her safe from infection or complications until she goes home. If all goes according to schedule, that will happen in about a month. Terry Cook, News 4 in Pittsburgh.
It will be an economic boost not only to Norman, but the entire metro area in central Oklahoma. A 1,000-job plant generally means another 500 jobs in a given area. It also means new companies will spring up or move in to help service the high-tech giant. The man on the street is certainly pleased.
Well, being an engineering student at OU, it really means a lot because of the industry growth. It means more employment for the university and near the university.
I think it'll be a real boost and a shot in the arm for the economy specifically and the attitude in general.
The move by Hitachi is also welcomed by Oklahomans displaced by sectors of the computer industry where things aren't so rosy. Cruz Holliday, who used to work at Magnetic Peripherals, knows about that.
There's quite a few people out here that are in the high-tech industry that are looking for work right now.
Hitachi may mean some high-tech changes in area votex to ensure a continuing and qualified workforce. It certainly will mean more ad valorem tax money for the Norman school system.
Well, we feel it would have a very significant impact upon our community because the additional revenue that it would provide the district through additional assessed evaluation.
Norman would seem to be a logical Hitachi plant site anyway. Housing, residential, and apartments are plentiful. There is adequate retail and service business in the area, and there are major highways and railroad lines in the immediate area. And the plant site is virtually in the shadow of the University of Oklahoma, a research and development center in the state. And that may be one reason why the high-tech giant has decided on Norman. Because in high-tech industry, money usually flows where the resources and where the brains are. George Tomick, News 4 in Norman.
Hitachi Limited operates 10 factories in the continental United States. The closest plant to the Norman site is in suburban Dallas. The Hitachi semiconductor plant is in the center of the Las Colinas Valley in Irving, Texas. Locals call this street High-Tech Row. This computer chip manufacturing plant is one of 22 Japanese firms in Irving. Hitachi's neighbors read like a who's who in electronics. Sony, Panasonic, and Mitutoyo all call the Las Colinas Valley home. Hitachi Semiconductor is one of dozens of Hitachi subsidiaries. These masked workers are in a near-sterile environment. They are inspecting tiny microchips that will eventually find their way into everything from toys to industrial computers. The Japanese command an impressive share of the computer chip market. They manufacture the tiny modules the same as other firms, but according to the plant foreman, Japanese companies have a different business philosophy, a philosophy that pleases employees and produces profit.
Japanese firms have to be profit-oriented too, but along with that, they are people-oriented. And I'm not saying the American companies are not people-oriented. It's just when times get tough, the first thing they start doing is laying off. Japanese companies look for ways to avoid laying off people.
This plant and the Norman facility will be two separate entities. The management, the workforce of 250, and even the benefits will most likely be different. But there is a sameness to all Hitachi factories, and those similarities have been a blessing to the city of Irving, Texas.
One of the things that the Japanese do very well is they like to come where there are other Japanese people and other Japanese companies. So once you've got a couple, your chances of landing other firms are greatly enhanced. So Norman and the Oklahoma City area may be very fortunate in getting this first one. It may not be the last.
On the surface, Irving, Texas and Norman, Oklahoma don't have much in common. This is a high-tech industrial city. Norman is a university town. But both communities offer a high quality of life, and it's clear that's a key factor to this industrial giant, no matter where they locate. In Irving, Texas, Kurt Autry, News 4. Hitachi Limited operates 10 factories in the continental United States. The closest plant to the Norman site is in suburban Dallas. The Hitachi semiconductor plant is in the center of the Las Colinas Valley in Irving, Texas. Locals call this street High-Tech Row. This computer chip manufacturing plant is one of 22 Japanese firms in Irving. Hitachi's neighbors read like a who's who in electronics. Sony, Panasonic, and Mitutoyo all call the Las Colinas Valley home. Hitachi Semiconductor is one of dozens of Hitachi subsidiaries. These masked workers are in a near-sterile environment. They are inspecting tiny microchips that will eventually find their way into everything from toys to industrial computers. The Japanese command an impressive share of the computer chip market. They manufacture the tiny modules the same as other firms, but according to the plant foreman, Japanese companies have a different business philosophy, a philosophy that pleases employees and produces profit.
Japanese firms have to be profit-oriented too, but along with that, they are people-oriented. And I'm not saying the American companies are not people-oriented. It's just when times get tough, the first thing they start doing is laying off. Japanese companies look for ways to avoid laying off people.
This plant and the Norman facility will be two separate entities. The management, the workforce of 250, and even the benefits will most likely be different. But there is a sameness to all Hitachi factories, and those similarities have been a blessing to the city of Irving, Texas.
One of the things that the Japanese do very well is they like to come where there are other Japanese people and other Japanese companies. So once you've got a couple, your chances of landing other firms are greatly enhanced. So Norman and the Oklahoma City area may be very fortunate in getting this first one. It may not be the last.
On the surface, Irving, Texas and Norman, Oklahoma don't have much in common. This is a high-tech industrial city. Norman is a university town. But both communities offer a high quality of life, and it's clear that's a key factor to this industrial giant, no matter where they locate. In Irving, Texas, Kurt Autry, News 4.
Yeah, I think there always is around the holidays, and it was just our chance. It seems like people are a little bit more aware in these times, and so it's our opportunity to give a little bit of something as a group.
This was Thanksgiving 1984 for the workers at Building 3001. They had to wade through water. They had no way to stay warm, and their equipment, virtually all of it, was covered with tar from the burned-up roof. The conditions, by anyone's standards, were miserable. And this is the north end of Building 3001 today. This Thanksgiving, none of the employees will have to work in the cold. It took $60 million to repair the damage done by the fire. The process of moving all of the engine repair operations back over to this side of the mile-long building are still not complete. But just about everyone here is amazed at what has been accomplished in a year.
There has been so much done, so far beyond what anybody expected. We're almost to the point now that we expect the impossible, because it's been done just time after time after time.
Despite that, no one here has forgotten where they were or what they were doing last Thanksgiving, because for most of them it meant working in the worst conditions they could imagine.
The water was probably 4 to 6 inches deep all over the floor. There was no roof. It was very cold up there. It was just like working in a cave, and it was something that scares you when you start to think about it.
Which gives workers here a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. As one worker said today, little problems don't seem so bad when you remember what we went through last year. Jeff Fowler, News 4 at Tinker Air Force Base.
Where you at? When you gonna come see me?
What'd you do at home? What'd you do when you went home for Thanksgiving last week? Tell us what you did. Do you have any pumpkin pie?
Chocolate. Dr. Janelle told us we was gonna get to go home, but he changed his mind on us. So let's stay another week. You wanna go home? Okay.
Get to go home pretty soon. You know what?
Go see Grandma and Grandpa and Jeannie and Aunt Lisa. And
It could have been a lot worse and stuff, you know. They could not be here.
That's true.
You gotta thank God for that.
Thankful we got him.
He's the only one we got. And he's our little pride and joy.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Christmas, a time to celebrate the birth of Christ. Wide-eyed children getting to sit on Santa's lap. and friends and relatives exchanging gifts and good cheer.
Cheese! There you go.
But this holiday of holidays has more than just religious significance. Christmas is a time to make money, lots of money. Today is the biggest retail day of the year. Oklahoma City shopping centers are packed. The stores have hired extra help to keep up with all of the business. But local merchants don't expect to do as well this year as compared to last. The economy isn't working against them, it's the calendar. Thanksgiving came late this year, leaving 6 fewer shopping days. Retailers will have to work harder to equal last year's figures.
The season's just as long as it is. We have to make the best of it, but we've got good traffic. I'm encouraged. I think I'm looking for a good season this year.
The retail bonanza is expected to continue through the weekend. Merchants report consumers are buying a lot of the smaller, traditional gifts this year. But big-ticket items like televisions and VCRs are moving too. It seems like a lot of shoppers are going all out.
Just wrote my last check, and I'm either going to have to go home or quit shopping.
Which is it going to be?
I don't know. My granddaughter hasn't told me yet what we're going to do.
We'll probably end up spending a little more, and we're out hopefully get all our Christmas shopping done today. I got off work today, so we're making the best of it.
I've already spent more money than I did last year, but I've still got a few more things to buy.
Polls remained empty for much of the day, leaving election officials with little to do. Normally, turnout for bond issues is extremely light despite the importance of the ballot, and today was no exception. Still, when a voter did arrive, officials sprang into action. Those who cast their ballots had strong opinions on the matter.
I go to quite a few different schools, and I really get to see a lot of schools that I really feel like need a lot of repairs and will be affected by the passing of this bond issue. So I do think it's a very important issue, and I certainly vote for its passing. I don't mind telling you that.
If passed, the money would be spent to modernize heating and plumbing systems, update telecommunications, and remove asbestos from at least 8 schools. One of those facilities is Heronville Elementary. Classes were halted one day last month so officials could check the level of asbestos in the air. Luckily, the situation never got dangerous. Polls close tonight at 7. News 4 will have the results at 10 o'clock tonight. Ann Nyberg, News 4.
Conservative, this CPA.
There's been a lot of accusations made. You know, you can accuse anybody of anything. But we've heard in our investigative committee how the Balow organization is not only connected to organized crime, but is organized crime itself. And we saw documentation to pretty well verify some of that.
We are not here as a broker or an intermediary to bring together banks and a syndication using other people's money to build this track. This is all being done with the Balow family, money, assets, and credit.
In connection with their application for a racing license in this state. 1,000 rooms and presently have an additional hotel property The Balow Corporation also has under its ownership 6 office projects totaling.
We just talking about we saw robbery go down. Get ready.
Less than 10 years ago, this site just off the base was a landfill. Recent tests showed industrial waste believed to be here may be contaminating shallow groundwater. This is now one of 2 sites actively being worked on to prevent the spread of pollutants. Workers are putting an 18-inch clay cover over the landfill to prevent any rainfall from getting into the site. And this is just one of several pollution projects that Tinker officials say are now being addressed.
What you see right here is one result of that. This particular landfill has moved into the final phases of this particular project. We have another number of other sites on base where we're still studying the problem and to determine just how severe or if there is any possibility of contamination leaving those sites.
But many civilian agencies weren't always happy with Tinker's progress. At a congressional hearing last year, base officials were criticized severely for not addressing their pollution problems and for their alleged lack of cooperation. But officials at Tinker say the situation has changed.
There certainly is a new attitude here at Tinker. We're trying to be as good a neighbor as we can possibly be. We're looking at all of our past waste disposal practices.
Tinker officials are also looking at the current facilities and how they can be prevented from polluting the environment. There's a lot of money being spent in these cleanups. The 2 major ongoing projects are costing over $1 million. And officials here say more cleanups are in the works. Jeff Fowler, News 4 at Tinker Air Force Base.
You know, there's nothing like a wide-eyed kid on Christmas morning when he first sees that Christmas tree, or for that matter, sort of a smug, gloating grandfather. Now, for that child, that's the day of his dreams come true, long awaited for. He's awakened in a toy wonderland. With just a little imagination and some appropriate supervision, toys can provide children with hours and hours of unlimited entertainment. And toys can also be very educational.
His house. That's his house.
Unfortunately, Christmas time toys sometimes keep my friend Dr. Mike Miner really rather busy. Dr. Miner is a neurosurgeon, and every year he sees the tragic results of toys that have been used improperly.
The most dangerous toys I see are guns. The BB gun is the most common example.
A lot of the BB guns that are available today are not what they were when I was a kid, when BB guns topped the list of every boy's Christmas time dream. any kind of gun requires very close adult supervision.
We've seen blindness, injuries to the face, injuries to the eye. We've had BB gun injuries that go through the skin, go through the scalp, go through the skull, go through the brain.
Darts, too, can be lethal weapons in the wrong hands. And when you're out doing your holiday shopping for these kiddos, be sure that you read the age requirements printed on the packages. Those things are there for a reason. Christmas time is a time to have a good time. Now let's keep it that way. I'm Dr. Red Duke. Now, if you've been good little boys and girls this past year, you've really been working hard to take care of yourself, like exercising and eating good food and dieting and keeping your weight down, right? Well, now here it is the holiday season again, and we all know that we associate the holidays with eating a lot of good, tasty food. Now, let me ask you, you gonna blow off all that hard work? Not on your life. Believe it or not, you can really enjoy the holiday season and not gain an ounce. You just got to have a little pre-planning. If you're planning on going to a party, try not to ask yourself what kind of food's going to be there. Instead, focus your attention on who is going to be there.
Keep something in your hand. If you can keep a drink in your hand or a purse or someone else's hand in your hand, that works real well too.
If you're sitting next to the dip and chips, afraid you're going to eat them. They're hard to resist. So stay away from the food. Now, if you decide to play host or hostess, give them things that are good for them, like fresh fruits and vegetables, and that gives them lots of high fiber and not many calories, and crackers and meats that are low in fat. And for goodness sake, please provide non-alcoholic alternatives for folks that don't want to take in alcohol. And one more thing, just remember, because it's the holiday season, don't put your exercise program on hold. It just took too long to get there, and it's too hard to get back. I'm Dr. Red Duke. Obviously, we're in a holiday season again. Just look at the color and the beauty. I love this time of year. I think it's one of the prettiest times of the year. But there's a few problems associated with all these decorations, like keeping toddlers away from holiday plants. The problem is what you and I see as pretty, ornamental plants, your child may view as a potential afternoon snack. And that's where that little fella can get in a whole lot of trouble with a capital T.
Mistletoe is another one of those Christmas plants. And mistletoe, although great for kissing under, is not very good to eat. In fact, there have been deaths from the ingestion of the mistletoe.
Mistletoe isn't the only plant you need to keep out of their way. These beautiful berries like holly, poinsettia, and pyracantha can make a toddler real sick if he decides to eat one of them. Now, if you find yourself in the situation where a toddler is eating some of these berries, it's important to get in touch with somebody like your pediatrician or a poison control center. Now, poinsettia leaf probably doesn't look very appetizing to you or me. At least I wouldn't think it would. But think like a 2-year-old for a moment. If you do, you'd probably stuff it in your mouth just like we adults put in turkey and dressing. Be real careful with little boogers. I'm Dr. Red Duke.
It was one of the worst ski accidents in Colorado history at Keystone Resort, 80 miles west of Denver. 60 people were thrown out of their chairs and to the ground when a big wheel which holds and pulls the main cable of a chairlift collapsed. 24 are still hospitalized, 2 in critical condition. The most seriously hurt with back, head, and internal injuries were airlifted to Denver hospitals. The wheel at the top of the lift collapsed without warning.
It almost sounded like a big explosion, and I saw the wheel that made the cable turn around. It just fall off, and I saw all the chairs and all the people swinging back and forth and then falling off.
The chairs went down quite a ways, and then when they came back up, it flung the kid in front of me out of the chair.
Federal and state investigators converged on the lift Sunday, trying to find out what happened. The wheel was welded onto a shaft, and there is strong suspicion that weld may have failed. The lift is less than 2 years old. There were 312 people riding the chairlift when the accident happened. Those who managed to hold on waited 2 to 3 hours before rescuers brought them down on ropes and ladders. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Keystone, Colorado.